Hello and welcome to this lecture in marketing management. The topic of this lecture is factors influencing consumers' behavior. As we will proceed in the slides, we will discuss about the various factors that influence consumers' behavior, and then we are going to see those factors in detail with examples. Before we start with the slideshow, let me take an assertion that we all have been consumers and we all have been experiencing a lot of factors that act when we go and purchase products and services. So, there are a lot of factors which will influence our behavior as consumers when we make choices to purchase either a product or a service. From here on, I will take the slideshow forward and I will discuss with you the various factors that influence consumers' behavior. So, basically when we talk about factors which influence consumers' behavior, we talk about these main headings in which the factors are summed up. There are certain cultural factors which are followed by social factors, the social factors, and then there are family influences. There are certain personal factors which belong to the person or the individual consumer, and finally there are some psychological factors. Now, let me briefly give you an idea about what these factors are. Cultural factors belong to the culture of which the consumer is a part of. Culture, as we all know, is different at different places. Culture, as we all know, is a set of belief, it is a way of life, and it encompasses a lot many factors in itself. Social factors include all those factors of the society of which the consumer is a part, and therefore, social factors also play a great role when it comes to consumers' behavior regarding products and services. We talk about the family influences. The family is a group which is very close to the consumer. In fact, the family is a group which surrounds the consumers from all the sides all the time almost, and therefore, family has profound influence on any individual. As kids, we all know that whenever there was a question of purchasing a stationery product or a copy or a pencil, there were advices that were coming from family members, and sometimes the choice was made by somebody else. So, with this we can understand the family influences and how family plays a role in the life of an individual when it comes to purchasing products and services. From the family, we move to the personal factors. Now, personal factors are the factors belonging to the person. A person has a particular education level, a person has a particular age, a person has a particular background, a particular a kind of gender. So, all these are factors which belong to a person and therefore, counted as personal factors. And then the psychological factors. The psychological factors talk about the attitude, the psychological factors talk about the beliefs, perceptions, as well as the learning that an individual receives. Now, we are going to in the further slides elaborate each of these factors and see these factors in detail. Firstly, we talk about the cultural factors. Now, before we talk about the cultural factors, it is very important for us to understand the difference between the culture and the subculture. Now, culture is a set of values, beliefs, preferences and tastes handed down from one generation to the other. So, this is another very important aspect of a culture, that a culture is passed on from one generation to the other. For example, vegetarianism. For example, we can also take the example of language. So, language is something which automatically is passed on from one generation to the other. Vegetarianism habits are also generally, there are also exceptions, but normally these are passed from one generation to the other. So, if all the people in the family are vegetarian, it is very obvious that the next generation would be vegetarian, because non-vegetarian values do not exist, although I said there are exceptions which are existing. So, in all, if we summarize what a culture is, then culture is actually a sum total of the way of the life of an individual, while a subculture is a culture within the culture. So, if we talk about the Indian culture, then we can distinctly observe that there is a South Indian culture and there is a North Indian culture. So, there is a North South divide. There are other subcultures, such as in Punjab we have a Punjabi culture within, again, which is again a subculture within the Indian culture. If we move towards Bengal, then we found a Bengali culture which has its own habit, which has its own clothing, food and various other practices. So, there is a Bengali culture. If we move down south, we have a Madrasi culture and likewise. So, there is culture within culture which is called subcultures, and the cultures plus subcultures together influence the consumer's behavior. Now, with two examples, I am going to make you more comfortable in this topic. One example we can take of color. Now, color is a very important part of culture. In India, if we see, during auspicious and sacred gatherings, red color is considered auspicious. While if we talk about the Western countries, if we talk about the US, white colored is considered auspicious. So, in US and in the Christian weddings in the European countries and American countries, white color clothes are used, while in India, white colored clothes are used in times of tragedy and mourning. So, anybody who offers a white colored cloth to an Indian family at the time of wedding, now that person's offer would be rejected, because white colored clothes are not considered auspicious at the wedding time in India, but red colored clothes are considered auspicious. So, this is an example of culture influences on purchase decisions. So, whenever there is a marriage happening in India, the people will never go out to purchase white clothes. Instead, they would always go out to purchase red clothes. I can take one more example to make you understand the culture. Let us take the example of McDonald's. Now, when McDonald's restaurant was operating in US, they used to offer the non-vegetarian burgers, because majority of the population in US is non-vegetarian. Now, when the same McDonald comes to India and offers burgers to Indian population and they open their stores here, they transform their burgers from non-vegetarian into vegetarian McAloo Tikki burgers. This transformation of McDonald's burgers from non-vegetarian to vegetarian potato burgers happened because they observed that majority of the population of India is vegetarian, and therefore, it would not accept non-vegetarian burgers, and it would be profitable if they offer vegetarian burgers to such a huge population in India. And this is exactly what happened. McDonald's grew by leaps and bounds in India, and we are all very familiar with the McDonald's growth story. So, with these two examples, we can understand how culture and subculture together play a role in shaping the behavior of the consumer and in making or breaking the fortunes of any company. From cultural factors, we move into social factors. Social factors include social group. Social group can be family, friendship group, school group, work group at the organization. So, when we are at home, there is a family that is surrounding us. When the kids are at school, they have a pool of friends, which is called the school group. When the people are working in offices, they have the office group or the work group. When people are in college, when the teenagers go to college, there is a college group, and the college group also has a profound influence in shaping the choices of those teenagers. So, these are various groups. Now, with groups come something called norms. Norms are practices or the standards which are set in a group, and the people who are a part of that group follow the group norms or the group practices and group standards. So, norms, group establishes norms of behavior, and these are the norms of behavior which are followed by the members of the group. Group establishes norms of behavior, values and attitudes. Members who aspire to be a part of the group may take up the norms of the group. So, anybody who wants to be a part of the group will have to first of all follow or take up the norms of the group, and only then a person can become the member of the group. And those who become the member of the group eventually in due course of time start following the norms of the group. So, therefore, a group is governed by group norms, and group norms have a profound influence in the behavior of consumer of a group. Status and roles. Let us try to understand what the status and roles have to say here. Status is the position of a person in the group, and role is the behavior that the members of a group expect of individuals who hold specific position. So, therefore, a group can have a group leader. So, group leader has a different status A group leader has a role to play, and as a group leader, suppose there is a group and I am the group leader. So, as a group leader, I can always influence the thought process of the members of the group, and when I can influence the thought process of members of a group, I can also influence their purchase decisions, and this is exactly what is being followed by influencer marketing. So, today's concept of influencer marketing has come from the idea of group behavior. So, there are influencers who influence the thoughts and who influence the consumer and purchase decisions of people, and these influencers help companies in getting their products and services accepted by a population. So, this idea of influencers or influencer marketing has come from the group behavior, the theory of group behavior. Moving ahead, let us talk about the Asch phenomenon. Now, this is a very important phenomenon for us to understand. This Asch phenomenon was first observed by social psychologist S. E. Asch, and what he observed was that when a person is a part of the group, and he observed that when individuals are a part of the group, the individuals would conform to the majority rules. It means that the rules that are made by the majority of the people, or the practices which are followed by the majority of the people of the group, are followed by the members of the group. So, if I am a part of the group and the majority of the group decides on a product or a service that they have to purchase, I would also readily conform to that choice without making or without opposing their choice. I will generally not oppose their choice. The Asch phenomenon can be a big factor in many purchase decisions such as house, car, etc. So, this Asch phenomenon was related to group behavior and the surprising impact of groups and group norms on the behavior of an individual. And Asch said that when the people are part of the groups, then they go with the majority, and when they go with the majority, they go with the majority even if the majority rules went against their wishes. So, even if I am not willing to watch a particular movie, if other members of the group and if the majority of the group is willing to watch a particular movie, I will also end up buying the ticket of the same movie whether or not I like it. If I am a part of the group and most of the people of the group are willing to visit a particular restaurant, I will also visit the restaurant with them. It does not matter whether or not I like. So, this is very important concept to understand, and it has deep implications, because in the purchase of products like house, cars, etc., Asch phenomenon can be a big factor. And as I already told you that influencer marketing is based on group norms and group behavior. So, influencer marketing is something that we all are observing today in the online marketing or in the online group behavior. So, after understanding this Asch phenomenon, let us move to family influences. Family is a place where we spend most of our time, and we spend a lot of time with family members, and we are very close to them, and because we are very close to them, we also pay a lot of attention and heed to their advices. So, whenever we are thinking of purchasing any product or purchasing any service, and we are discussing this with our family members, the advices of the family members have a profound influence on our choice, and we generally go with their choice. So, family influences individuals with respect to buying decisions. Marketers describe the role of each spouse in one of the categories. If we observe closely, a typical family consists of the father, the mother, and the kids. So, the husband and the wife, they have a great role to play with respect to the buying decisions. In fact, they are the ones who are making the buying decisions most of the times. So, when the husband and the wife are taken together and the kind of buying decisions that they make are studied, it is found that basically they make 4 types of roles. So, there are 4 types of roles that the spouses play. I would first of all spell out all the 4 types of roles, and then I will talk about these roles in detail. There are autonomic role, secondly there are husband dominant role, thirdly there are wife dominant role, and then there are certain syncretic role. Autonomic role, in autonomic role, so a spouse is in an autonomic role when they are making the purchase decisions independently. So there can be a scenario where the husband is making purchase decision independently and the wife is making her own purchase decisions, and they are not consulting each other with respect to these decisions. These are routine decisions. Suppose the husband has to purchase a pen, so he will not go to the wife and consult with her when he has to purchase a pen. Similarly, when the wife has to purchase a jewelry or something else, she is not going to consult with the husband, or maybe she can consult, but in certain other choices she is not going to consult. So when the decisions of the spouses are independent of each other, the roles that they play in purchasing are called autonomic role, because there is a greater degree of autonomy involved, and therefore the name autonomic, because there is so much of autonomy and independence involved in these purchase decisions. Second type of roles are husband dominant roles. Husband dominant roles are generally those roles in which the dominant role is played by the husband, while the wife does not play the dominant role, while the wife plays the role only of she only assists the husband in making some decisions, but profoundly it is the husband who makes decisions. For example, if we have to purchase, the family has to purchase a car, or if the family has to purchase a technical gadget about which wife has lesser knowledge, then the wife will not have a dominant role to play, she will only have a limited role to play, while the dominant role would be played by the husband. Then there are certain roles in which the wife has the dominant role to play. These are called the wife dominant role. These occurs when the wife makes most of the buying decisions. So in case of certain products like curtains, in case of certain products like furniture designs, in case of certain products like art pieces, lights, wall hangings, etc., etc., we find that wife is the one who has a dominant role to play, and because she has a dominant role to play, this role is called wife dominant role. Then there are certain, last but not the least, there are syncretic roles. What happens here is, this refers to joint decisions which are taken by the husband and the wife together. So the decision of investing money, the decision of buying a house, the decision of buying a car, the decision of planning a vacation, the decision of buying an expensive piece of artifact, these decisions can be taken by the husband and the wife jointly, and when they are taken by the husband and the wife jointly, these roles are called syncretic roles. Moving ahead. From the family influence, we come to the personal factors. Now, when we talk about personal factors, we talk about a person. When we talk about a person, we talk about his needs. And when we talk about the needs and wants, then it is very imperative and very important for us to discuss the Maslow's need hierarchy. So Maslow's need hierarchy is actually a pyramid, and this pyramid consists of 5 levels. Now let us understand this Maslow's need hierarchy in detail. Maslow's need hierarchy consists of 5 levels, starting from physiological needs. Physiological needs I would sum up as food, clothing and shelter. So food, clothing and shelter are the basic needs without which it is very difficult for a person to survive. Food, clothing and shelter are a part of physiological needs. From physiological needs, the next set of needs is safety needs. Safety needs like insurance or the bank balance. So a person buys insurance for his safety of life and property. A person opens a bank account or fixed deposits for some financial safety. So when a person is done with physiological needs, or when a person's physiological needs are satisfied, only then the person moves to safety needs. So in Maslow's hierarchy, it is important to understand that as soon as one set of needs are satisfied, or as soon as one set of needs are satisfied to some extent, the person will move to the next or the higher set of needs. So when the safety needs of a person gets fulfilled, the person moves to the higher set of needs, which are called the love and belonging needs or the affiliation needs. So these needs are also called the affiliation needs, and a person will think about fulfilling the affiliation needs only when the other two needs or the lower two needs are satisfied to an extent, which means the physiological needs and the safety needs are satisfied to an extent, only then a person will talk about love and belonging needs. When the love and belonging needs or the affiliation needs of a person gets fulfilled to an extent or completely, the person will think about fulfilling the esteem needs. Now, esteem needs are the needs of achievement, esteem needs are the needs of gaining more esteem in the society, gaining more achievement, moving to higher positions, etc., etc. So, anybody who is at this level will be an entirely different consumer as compared to anybody who is at the first level. So, therefore, I say that a person can be at different level in Maslow's needs hierarchy, and according to the level or according to the place that a person occupies in Maslow's need hierarchy, the person as a consumer would be different. So, if somebody is at the achievement level, or if somebody is at the safety level, or if somebody is at the physiological level, they will be making different choices as consumers, and their behavior as consumers would also be very different from each other. From esteem needs, we move to self actualization. Now, self actualization is a stage at which a person has realized all his potential. So, when a person has realized all his potentials, a person has the task to mentor others, he has a task to develop the society and develop the capability of other persons. So, this kind of a stage is called self actualization. So, a person who is at this stage will be an entirely different consumer than a person who is at the stage of safety or is at the stage of physiological needs. So, this is why it is important to understand Maslow's need hierarchy, because Maslow's need hierarchy will decide the kind of consumer a person would be according to the place or the position or the level he will occupy in the need pyramid or the need hierarchy. From here on, we move to certain other factors, certain other personal factors like gender. Gender, as we all know, is a very important personal factor which will decide the types of products and services a person will purchase. Along with gender, we talk about the age influences. Now, if a person is young or if a person is old, the choices of products and services would be different. So, a person who is in his 60s will purchase an entirely different sets of products and services than a person who is in his 30s or a person who is in his teenage. So, therefore, age has profound influence upon the consumer's choice. Along with gender influence and age influence, education level also makes a huge difference on the choice of the consumer. So, education also changes the behavior of a consumer, and if the education level is very high or if the education level is mediocre or if the education level is low or if a person is illiterate, then all these will make that set of people different types of consumers and their behavior will change. So, when a person moves from one education level to the other, there is a change in the consumer's behavior also. So, for the people who are literate in digital things, who have a lot of knowledge of digital things, they can be online consumers, while if a person is not so literate, if a person is not so aware of how products are purchased online, he cannot be an online consumer, and therefore, he will have to go to the physical shop and only then he can purchase the products and services. So, education is one very big factor, and along with education, another very important factor is the income of the person. So, education, income, gender, age and the status of the person in the need hierarchy, all these things jointly influence his behavior as a consumer. Not to forget the availability of choice. So, if a consumer is experiencing a monopoly market, he would have a different behavior because there would be very less number of choice. If a consumer is experiencing a competitive market, his behavior as a consumer would be different because then there would be a choice of products and services before the consumer. So, all these factors along with the need hierarchy we count in personal factors. With personal factors, we move on to the psychological factors. Now, psychological factors I can underline as perception, attitude and learning. These are three very important psychological factors that influence the behavior of a person as a consumer. Perception largely means what I think or what I believe about a product or service or a company. So, if I have a positive perception, if I have a favorable perception, I will purchase that product or service again and again, while if I have an unfavorable or a negative perception, I will refrain myself from purchasing that product or that service. So, the stimulus as well as the individual factors come under the perception category. Then there is attitude. Attitude can be positive or negative, or it can be favorable or unfavorable. When we talk about attitude, a very important example can be taken here is that of Maggi. So, there was a Nestle product called Maggi and it is still very widely selling in the market. Few years ago, there was a scenario wherein the lead level in the Maggi were found to be more than permissible, and as soon as the news broke, people became very careful about consuming the Maggi and people stopped consuming it, and even Nestle company withdraw this product. They withdrew the product from the market and they had to destroy Maggi worth crores of rupees. So, attitude of the people had turned negative regarding the product, and when after a while the product was relaunched in the market, there was a lot of advertising done, there was a lot of advertising by Nestle, and then again the product was furnished in the market and people again started shopping it, and then people again started using it. But those advertisements at that time were full of appeals, and those appeals were very emotional. So, the point is that when the attitude of people turns negative for a product or is negative for a product, the company has to give a lot of information to the consumer so that the product can be changed from negative to positive. They have to supply a lot of information, they have to do a lot of advertising, and that advertising has to be done very cleverly and very carefully, so that the attitude, the negative attitude can be changed into a positive attitude. Talking about learning, which is the last point in psychological needs. Learning is based on experience. So, the type of experience that a person has regarding a product or a service, based on that experience can be divided into two categories. So, either it will be a good experience or it will be a bad experience. So, if the learning or the experience from a particular product or a service is good, then this good experience will reinforce the usage of the product, and the consumer will be prompted or encouraged to buy this product again and again from the market. While if this experience is bad, then there is a psychological impact, and this psychological impact then discourages the consumer from buying that product or that service from the market. So, with this we understand that there are psychological factors, and these psychological factors are perception, attitude and learning. So, let us give a quick recap as to what we learned in this lecture. Firstly, we talked about these 5 headings: the cultural, social, family, personal and psychological factors that shape the behavior of a person as a consumer. We came to the cultural factors, which included the culture and the subculture. We talked about the difference between the two and how together jointly they influence the consumer's behavior. We talked about social factors, including social group, norms, status and roles. Then we talked about the Asch phenomenon as observed by US psychologist S. E. Asch. Then Asch phenomenon of group behavior. From there we went to family influences, and we saw the various spouse roles and how the spouse roles are divided into various categories, on what basis. From family influences we came to personal factors. Personal factors included gender, age, education, income, availability of choice, and very important, Maslow's need hierarchy that shaped the behavior of an individual according to the level the person occupies in the Maslow's need hierarchy. From the Maslow's need hierarchy we move to the psychological factors. Psychological factors, as I said, are perceptions, attitudes and learning, and how perception, attitude and learning can be shaping the behavior of the consumer as a person, how the good or bad experience either encourage or discourage the person regarding a particular product or service, and how the attitudes, which can be either positive or negative, can be changed through proper advertising and by supplying proper information to the consumer. So, with this we learn a series of things related to the factors that can change the behavior of a consumer. There are certain other factors also, some minute factors which can change the consumer of a which can influence the behavior of a consumer. The kind of mood that a person he is in while shopping for a particular product or service can also have a profound influence. The physical status, the status of health, and these minor things can also influence the person as a consumer. Coming to the end of this lecture, I have wind up with all the factors that shape up the behavior of a consumer or the behavior of a person as a consumer. Last but not the least, we have covered all the main factors. With this, I come to the end of this lecture, and my email ID is ashishashish.awasthi@imsec.ac.in. I request you to write down to me in case of any doubt, and I would try to answer your query to the best of my ability. That brings me to the end of this lecture. Thank you so much.